Hello and welcome back. So this video is going to be a get ready with me video using Shop My Stash items and some Project Pan items. I never do these videos, but I thought it would be fun to try it out. I will link my Shop My Stash playlist, so let's get into it. Today I really wanted to match my shirt and do a bright red look using this palette. This is the Karity 21 Matte. I really love this palette. I was thinking about recreating the light pink look I had in my Pan That Palette video because you guys really liked that. It was so easy though. I will just list the 3 eyeshadows that I used in the description box because I really wanted to do something different today. So I already put on eyeshadow primer, the Milani one, and I set that with just a little bit of eyeshadow. I'm just going to get right into this and start with this color. It's kind of a coral. It's called Cancun. Alrighty, so that is what that looks like right now. And this palette was in a Shop My Stash, I think like 2 months ago, but it is one of my favorite colorful eyeshadow palettes. I feel like nobody really talks about this brand, but it is so good. So I want to add just a bit of the bright orange into the crease. I'm kind of doing a sunset, but the goal will for it to be mostly red. I'm just kind of putting that right on top. By the way, this brush is the EBH brush that comes in all of their palettes. This has been my favorite brush. I've been doing my entire eyeshadow look with this. It's so amazing, except if I use like a metallic shade, I will either use this brush side, ooh, there's powder on there, or a sponge tip applicator. All right, I'm going to start with the red, and this is NSFW. I don't know, it's just a matte red color. I'm gonna first put it all over the lid using the same brush. I'm just kind of putting it in the crease. I'm really liking this, by the way. I feel like this is really easy, and honestly, this is how I do my makeup. I really don't do anything that complicated because I'm just not that skilled, but when I do simple things like this, I think it works out. I mean, honestly, most of my eyeshadow looks are using only 3 colors, not including like lower lash line, but yeah. Usually I do a lid shade and then maybe 2 different crease shades mixed together, and that's honestly about all I can handle. And I've noticed if I go beyond that and use a lot of different colors, then it kind of starts to look dirty, messy, just because my blending skills are not amazing. But honestly, since I've started using this brush, it has really helped. It's pretty crazy. I gotta say, I am really liking this. I feel like it's pretty decent, so I'm just going to use this one to do a brow bone shade. And I really like the other side of this brush for this. I used to always just like throw away the brushes that came with palettes, and one day I just started using this and it's my favorite ever. I have 2 of them, one from the Norvina and the Sultry. Sadly, I had thrown away the one that came with the Soft Glam because I was like, oh, I'm never going to use that. Kind of wish I had kept it, honestly, but oh well, at least I have 2 of them. I am tired. I need to drink some coffee. Going to tightline using this eyeliner. This is also in a Project Pan. I don't know if I can do this. This is always scary to watch people doing this. Good enough. Always get fallout, so I am going to clean this up. Time for winged liner. All right, so I have just a little bit of winged liner on. I'm going to use my primer. This is the e.l.f. Hydrating Primer, and I talked about this in a recent video. I finished the Smashbox one, and I just wanted something cheap that works. And this is a silicone type primer, which is what I like. It says hydrating, but I looked on the ingredients and it has silicone in it, which is what I like because, I mean, I have lines on my forehead. I mean, they're not crazy, honestly, and I don't know if you can tell, but I got large pores here and on my chin. So these are the type of primers that I enjoy because I need line and pore filling. I've had this primer for about 2 weeks and I have been loving it. I did have a different e.l.f. primer before and I didn't like it. I can't remember which one. Oh, it was the one that smelled like tea tree. It was so strong. I did not like it, but same as the other one I had, the cap is already cracking. This is like a problem that e.l.f. primers have had for like 7 years. You'd think they could fix this by now. It is only $6, but it's only 0.47 fluid ounces. So, I mean, really, if this was like a full-size 1 ounce primer, this would be $12, which is not cheap actually, but I do like it and I'm happy to be trying out a drugstore primer because it's still cheaper than the Smashbox one I had before. I'm going to show you guys what I've been doing for foundation. So I have this, this is an Anastasia Contour Stick in Banana. This is a sample and I don't have a lot left. I'm working on this in my Finish 5 by Fall. It's very yellow, which for me is good because I have very yellow undertones. So I'm just kind of like, I've been putting this on under my liquid foundation, and if my foundation is not yellow enough, although the one I'm using now is, the one that I was working on before, the Wet n Wild, wasn't quite yellow enough, so this was really helping. This does not have that much coverage though, so it's, you know, nothing crazy, but I'm going to use the Too Faced Born This Way. This is in my Finish 13 by Halloween, and I'm getting down there, which is very exciting. This is pretty full coverage, so I don't put on very much. This is my sponge from Shop Miss A. Oh my gosh. I really wish, if I had known I was going to like this as much as I do, I would have at least bought 1 or 2 more because it's only $1.55. So I've been really impressed. I did a whole $1 makeup review on Shop Miss A and Dollar Tree stuff. I will link that if you guys are interested. Most of the stuff worked out. I was so happy about it. But yeah, this sponge is just as good as the Real Techniques. I mean, Real Techniques is not expensive, but I mean, this is even cheaper than that. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. I probably could have put on more foundation, honestly, but I've been into a less coverage look because I feel like my powder also adds a little bit of coverage. I've had this acne thing over here for several weeks and it's still not fully healed. I don't know, whatever. And sadly, I've recently discovered that I have a sunspot on my forehead. I wear sunscreen every day, but when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I did not, and I was bad, and I went to tanning beds, and now I deeply regret it. I'm 34. I use sunscreen every day now, but it sucks that the damage from that is showing up. I mean, obviously, you know, don't do that. Don't go in tanning beds. Wear sunscreen, but yeah, really regret that. So I can't really do anything about it now other than try to take care of my skin, but that is disappointing. So this also is fairly new in the last 2 weeks, the e.l.f. 16-hour Camo Concealer. Because I finished my Tarte Shape Tape, you may have seen that in my Project Pan and my empties. But everything else I'm using in this video is older, but this is my only concealer and I really love it. It's just crazy. It's so good. It's only $6. So this color I have is Light Sand. It works very well for me. You know, I threw away the packaging that says how much is in this because I'm always curious about that. But this seems like there's a fair amount in here. The Tarte Shape Tape, that is obviously way more expensive, but that bottle did last me a while, like over a year using it with other concealers. So if I had only used that every day, it probably would have lasted 8 to 9 months. And I really like the pointed end of this sponge. It is so good. I have owned a beauty blender before, and I did recently mention that in an overrated products video. Yeah, I had a beauty blender once. It lasted me about 4 months and then it started to break. And it was exactly like this, literally. I mean, I cannot even tell a difference from this one and that beauty blender that I had. I mean, that was a few years ago, but from what I recall, this is identical. This concealer is pretty full coverage. So whatever I have left on there, I'm just gonna kind of do this because it's pretty full coverage, I gotta say. My other favorite concealer is the Revolution one. That is less coverage though, so I do have to use more. So I think I don't think I'll run out of this as fast as I usually do on the Revolution concealer. And a lot of you guys had told me that they sell a larger size of that, but it's online only. And I had used up my Shape Tape and I needed to buy a new concealer within like 24 hours. So I did not have time to, you know, wait around to order something online. So I literally went to Target and they had a lot of the shades actually. There are more shades online of this e.l.f. concealer, but they had a lot of them in Target. I was really impressed. I feel like a lot of times with drugstore products, the selection in store is much more minimal than what they have in online. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the Targets in my area have been really revamping their beauty area. It's insane. They have so much stuff. They have new brands. They have way better stock of items. It's really impressive. I mean, it's not good when I go buy groceries because then I want to buy more makeup. So yeah, this is the Milani powder. This is in another project pan. This is in Finish 13 by Halloween. And I'm using this e.l.f. brush. I've had this brush a long time. It's really good for powder. So I do feel like this powder adds some coverage too, so it's not as desperate of a situation since I am not wearing super full coverage right now. I really like this powder though. It is very good. My color is Natural Light 03. I only own one under eye powder, and honestly, there are only two that have ever worked for me. I've mentioned that before on my channel. This is the Lancome Absolu in Absolu Pearl, and then the other one that has worked for me is the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. The issue I have is that my under eyes are pretty dry, but I do have lines under there, so it's like a catch-22 with under eye powder. So I've let my concealer sit for a little while, and I am blending it in, and then I set it with this, and that works really well. Once I do finish this Lancome, I do plan on going back to the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil because they're so similar for the price difference. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Lancome Absolute powder was, I think, $60, somewhere around there, which, I mean, it's something that's hyped up and I wanted to try, and it is very good, but yeah, it's not necessary to pay that much when I can get the Bare Minerals one. This is a MAC brush that I've had for like 10 years. It's the only brush I ever used to set my under eye. It's still in perfect condition, so yay for that. For bronzer, I'm going to use a combo of my Project Pan blush and this one that is been in my Shop My Stash, and this is the Beauty Benefits Hollywood. This is a $1 bronzer from the Dollar Tree, and it's so good. So I'm going to contour with this and then use that for general bronzing. This is my Sigma F05. This is my favorite contour brush. I've had it for a really long time. It's kind of funny because Sigma was very popular, you know, back when YouTube kind of first started. They were kind of the first, one of the first like YouTube brands, like brands that I had never heard of. They were only online. A lot of YouTubers, you know, had codes with them, and it's kind of funny that for a while people stopped talking about Sigma because I think they were talking about Morphe. I don't know, but now I've seen a lot of YouTubers talk about Sigma again and have codes with them, which is just kind of funny. But I have a few Sigma brushes, but they are a lot more expensive than like Morphe brushes or e.l.f. brushes. So I don't feel like I need a whole line from them, but the few I have are really good. Speaking of Morphe, I do have this bronzer brush from them. It is the R2. This is really good. I really like this. So I'm going to use this for, you know, general bronzing, but I feel like that's looking a little crazy. Whatever, we'll fix it later, but This brush is really good. Again, I mean, I've had really good luck with Morphe brushes, but I've bought the individual ones that people have said are good. I've never bought one of the sets or anything. Well, actually, I do have the eye set from the Jaclyn Hill collection. This also is in a recent Shop My Stash. This is the Becca Khloe palette, and I am going to use these blushes. I'm just going to combine them together. These are definitely, they're not matte, but I mean, they're not as shimmery on the face as when you swatch them. I really like this palette, and I got it for a crazy discount. It was on sale for $26, and then I also used a 20% off coupon. So I think it was only about $20, $21. Good deal. I mean, I definitely love it, and I think it's very good. It's worth the higher price tag, but I just didn't need another face palette. Oh, I need to stop buying face palettes, although everything in this one does work for me, which is nice because I have fallen into the trap of face palettes so many times, and then I only use one of the two items in it, which, you know, is sad. So I'm glad that this one works. I'm going to use the highlighter too. I'm going to layer highlighters though. I almost always wear more than one highlighter just because I'm addicted to highlighters, and I like to rotate through everything I own and try to use it all, which is what I like about doing the Shop My Stash videos. There's a lot of stuff that I was definitely neglecting before I started doing this series, so I am very happy that I'm doing that. I'm going to add another highlighter, which is from a Project Pan. This is the ColourPop palette. This is the Gimme More, I think. This color is called Upgrade. It kind of has a pinkiness to it, but it doesn't really look that pink on the face. This is more intense than the Becca one. Alrighty, so time for some finishing powder, which is an essential step to blend all of this for me. I'm going to actually change it up and use the Essence Pure Nude highlighter. I've been working on my Hourglass palette, but I'm gonna take a break from that today and use this. This is gorgeous as a highlighter too, but I also like it to blend my brush and highlighter and bronzer together, and it just works really well for that also. Yay, I love this product. My little brush cup here, and I kind of have too many things in it right now because I'm struggling to find things, but this brush I bought at Walgreens literally 11 years ago, and this is my favorite eyebrow brush. No idea what it is, no idea what brand it is, but all I know is I love it. I do have a few other angled brushes, but they're not as good. So I'm going to use Triple Fudge from the Chocolate Bar for my brows. I have not really been doing the brow gel anymore, which is something I did for a really long time. So lately I've just been using a tiny bit of this pencil because I've noticed that it's waxy, so it kind of helps keep the brows in place. So I'm not really using this for color or anything. This is the L'Oreal like brow and fill. I don't know, it's all rubbed off. I mean, it's not anything amazing, but it does work for the purposes I need it to work, and the spoolie is good, so this is what I've been doing. So I'm going to put a little bit of this black eyeliner on the lower lash line. The Natasha Denona Mini Sunset is actually in a Project Pan also. So I'm going to take the very dark matte brown. All right, so I blended out the lower lash line with the two matte browns from the Natasha Denona palette, and then I added the black eyeliner in the waterline. CoverGirl Clump Crusher for the lower lashes. I only put like a tiny bit, but I do like doing that. I feel like I want to clean up this a little bit. Going with the Wet n Wild Reserve Your Cabana. I'm just gonna kind of do this. This is a good powder for doing this with because it's a bit light for me. I've noticed if I try to do this with like an exact skin tone match, it does not work as well. Also, just patting things out with the beauty sponge at the end is something I like to do that is helpful. Time to curl the eyelashes. This is my Sephora lash curler. I've had this for like 8 years and it's awesome. Back to the Clump Crusher. This mascara has been around for so long and I can't believe this is my first time trying it. I've had this tube for like 2 months, but it's so good. I am not really in the mood for lipstick and I haven't really been. I don't know. Lately I'm just like not into lipstick at all, but I'm going to use the NYX lip liner in Natural. This isn't a project pan, and then I'm just gonna use a lip gloss. This is a lip gloss I have not used in a while, but I do love it. It's the Intense Butter Gloss by NYX. This color is Peanut Brittle. It's so pretty and this formula is amazing. Nobody really talks about these anymore, but it's so good. This formula reminds me of the Anastasia formula actually because it's more pigmented. It's not like a really sheer lip gloss, but yeah, it's way cheaper. And the ABH lip glosses, I've talked about it before, they tend to expire really fast. I do have one here that's still going strong for about 8 months. You know, I should smell this because who knows? Yeah, okay, it's still fine, but still. I'm keeping my eye on this because I've had 2 of them go bad between like the 6 to 9 month mark. Alrighty, so this is the final look. Pretty red eyeshadow. It almost looks a little pink, but I think it's pretty red, which is what I was going for to match my shirt. And yeah, everything else, I mean, most of the stuff I used was Shop My Stash items and Project Pan items. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this, I will do more Get Ready With Me videos. I'm planning on maybe doing 1 or 2 a month. So yeah, let me know what you think and thank you for watching.